Hello, everyone, and hello, Brian Crowley.
Well, hi there, Michael Williams.
Welcome to you, my friend, and welcome to all of you, of course, to Top of Mind Florida. We so appreciate you joining us. And Brian, as you always point out, subscribe away. We appreciate that very much.
Yes, we do. And I've gotten some great comments in my emails lately. So one from a guy named Jeff that just was like how informative he thought the program was that he watched, and he couldn't wait to subscribe, and it was very encouraging. And it was nice to hear from Jeff commenting that way.
Thank you, Jeff. And we hope we'll see an avalanche more of those. Top of Mind Florida, my friend.
Well, you know, the legislative session is underway, and one of the things, and this was reported by Seeking Rents, Jason Garcia, in part because of some federal legislation that Florida normally would have to match involving corporate taxes. The state economists estimate Florida would lose about $3.5 billion in 26-27 budget if lawmakers automatically align state law with the federal law. And traditionally, that's what they've done. So, you know, we benefited from a lot of federal dollars during COVID. So part of what's been so great for the DeSantis administration as he enters his final months is that he had all this extra cash that he could play with to do a lot of stuff, and much of it handled well. I'm not criticizing the governor about that money, but magically that money suddenly disappears, and the legislature's got some tough times ahead of them in trying to balance the budget.
Also, you know, I want to talk in this session. One thing that was interesting to me that I saw, love your take too. You know, we talk about where politicians are, the big vaccine debate. Maybe I'm extra sensitive to it because I have a little grandson up in the Northeast. But a new poll, Florida voters draw the line on school vaccine mandates. This was out of Florida Politics. They do great work. I know you read them as well.
Oh, sure.
Talking about a new statewide poll out of Florida Politics showing overwhelming bipartisan support for maintaining Florida's longstanding school entry vaccine requirements. All this as lawmakers are set to debate changes to our childhood immunization policy. I'm always amazed at the disconnect between polling like that and where a lot of lawmakers are with their thinking in this state. Or any state, for that matter.
Well, I mean, I will find out whether or not this legislation passes. You always have some people in the House and the Senate who tend to be out on the outer edges of things. But yeah, some of these vaccine requirements they're trying to come up with, you know, vaccines are important. Science says they're important. You know, doctors say they're important. We've already seen in some states a dramatic uptick in measles because parents are not getting their kids vaccinated for measles. You want to do without vaccinations? Sure. You go ahead and do that. When we bring back measles and chicken pox and mumps and all sorts of other diseases, we'll regret that decision. So, you know, some of this is just silly that we're doing, fighting battles that don't need to be fought. Parents already give permission by the very sense that they take their kid to the doctor or the pharmacist to get the vaccine. So, yeah, the vaccines. As somebody whose father had polio, and as a result of having polio at the age of about 3, was never able to use his legs again. Sure, get rid of polio vaccines. You know, this anti-vaccine talk is silly.
I have to tell you, my friend, we're some weeks now as we sit and talk in this episode, we're some weeks after the violence that we saw in Minneapolis, 2 American citizens killed by ICE agents. I've had people come up to me who are just depressed about where we are. How do we turn down the temperature, Brian, in places like Florida with politicians who have national profiles? I'm talking on all sides, because honestly, I know we're top of mind Florida, but in the last month or so, what's been really top of mind for a lot of people is a real fright that I see at a deep level. And it's not about, well, for some it is about Republican versus Democrat, but you always ask me what's top of mind. we're in tough times, buddy. And I think all of us, starting with kind of conversations that we have on this program and the kind of thoughtful guests we have on all sides of the issue, but it just seems like it's a call to all of us to really have a deep examination of who we are as Americans and who we are in the way we talk with each other and deal with each other. I sense a profound anxiety and sadness. It's not just about Florida. It's not just about any one state. It's not just about any one party, but it's weighs on a lot of us. And I know you too. Thoughts?
Well, we need leadership that leads. You know, when the VA nurse was killed.
Mr. Pretty.
Alex Pretty.
Yeah, and Renee Good before him.
You know, you had people who were immediately calling him a terrorist. Well, that turned out not to be true. People who were doing it who were in leadership. It's wrong. What leaders should do is say, there was a shooting. We're going to investigate it. We're going to gather all the facts, and then we'll make a judgment from there. We don't do that anymore. 5 minutes after something happens, not only do we have leaders pass judgment, but then social media gets filled with people passing judgment. This is not a defense of other people who are protesters who protest violently. That's not right either. In this particular case, he was not protesting violently. He was actually trying to, as a VA nurse, he was trying to help a woman. Not shocking that a nurse who sees somebody who might be injured wants to help them out.
And was holding a cell phone in his hand.
Was holding a cell and get shot 10 times. That alone, and any professional law enforcement officer would be suspect of firing 10 rounds at close range like that. But we'll let the investigation finish out. You know, the positive thing, and some time has passed since then, but as we're taping this, you know, there's some talk of the White House and the governor's office in Minnesota trying to tone things down a bit. And that's important. It was disappointing to me in Florida to watch Byron Donalds, congressman, leading candidate for the Republican nomination, immediately after that happened, go on a rant and rave about, you know, these awful protesters and everything and how terrible they are, and his full support of ICE. And then you had David Jolly, one of the Democratic nominees for governor, call it a murder, and did a long video from a speech he was giving at a church, condemning what happened. Again, not all, you know, everybody needs to calm down. Everybody needs to show professionalism, and everybody needs to show a heart and some kindness about what's going on. You want to protest things that are going on, fine, protest, but do it in a responsible way. If you're law enforcement, and frankly, I'm hesitant to compare ICE to law enforcement. Most law enforcement officers, I think, are appalled by the things they see with these ICE agents.
Some of the major organizations were highly critical. Highly.
You know, there's a proper way to do things.
I guess why I bring it up, Brian, is because it's top of mind for everybody. And again, as we tape this a few weeks after those events, but you and I've talked about it a lot, whether it's debates in the Florida legislature about vaccines, whether it's debates among candidates. All national politics tends to become local now, and vice versa. And so I almost feel like we're remiss as journalists to not bring it up. And you've talked about it a lot and eloquently. I see people pining for what may never can be again, which is a politics that's, stake your position. You know, tell me what you think. But I remember the days of the Dante Fassells or the E. Clay Shaws. I remember my former colleague, her dad was a Democratic lawmaker. She and I used to talk about the fact that they'd strenuously debate on the floor of the legislature, or as the case may be in Congress, but still with some basic North Star about where they wanted public policy to go, and an ability to talk with one another. And it's not just, as you also point out, it's not just what we see in our state houses or in Congress or even at the local level. It's an ugliness where all of us lash out, where social media has become this toxic stew too often. And I hope we can find our way back to some degree. And I guess there's a lot of worry that can we? And it's a big hill to climb.
Well, as I say all the time, these people don't appoint themselves to office. It's on the voters. And the voters have to look in the mirror and say, is this what you want? Is this the kind of conduct you want? Is this the kind, if you really believe in the founding of this country, doesn't that mean you want compromise, that you want people who actually talk to each other? You can disagree vehemently without being nasty. And the whole idea of our founders was that we would have to compromise on issues. Otherwise, what's the point of a Congress? What's the point of a legislature? And if voters aren't willing to elect the kind of people who are willing to talk to each other on both sides of the aisle and compromise on issues and not scream at each other, then it's on the voters. It's not on the people who they pick because they picked them.
Well, I think there's a big tendency. It's easy there will be those of you, and I certainly respect it, watching this, who will agree or disagree. But there is a tendency we all have, well, let the other guy be nice and be civil first. And it all starts with each one of us. It's not let the other guy, but I'll still be nasty. We all need to sit and do a lot more listening, and not think that compromise and listening to a position that's not ours is a capitulation. It's the art of listening to one another and coming to some, hopefully, common ground. That used to not be cliche to say that. It's almost as those words come out of my mouth. We live in an age now where it almost sounds, oh, how quaint, how old-fashioned, how silly. And we see it from the State House to, again, as I said, locally, nationally. At any rate, I knew at point you always do, which I appreciate. Hey, what's top of mind, and that's been very top of mind for me. Any final thoughts on that before you dig in a little bit more, my friend and legislative expert, as we kind of round back to some of what's going on in Florida? But that's what I'm hearing a lot of, and I'm sure you are too. And I think we all have to talk about it.
Yeah, I'll just, what we have now, we have because this is what voters wanted. If you continue to want the kind of diversity and disruption that we have, then, that's what you got. Mm-hmm. But we better be careful the direction we're going in.
Be careful what we wish for on all sides.
Exactly.
On all
exactly.
sides.
The extremes on both sides need to be corrected. Absolutely.
Back to the Florida legislature, my friend. Specific issues top of mind. Interesting for you because you and I talk. One I wanted to bring up to you: TikTok. Big move to try and have non-Chinese buyers take it over. We're going to save TikTok, but I saw something that. Will Florida's ban on it end? At least there was some indication, we're going to be a little careful because we're worried about it. And, the governor had banned it in May of 23, citing cybersecurity concerns. And there's still some questions, it seems, among some top Republicans about TikTok in Florida as part of this ongoing media debate about what happens. It's been a hot potato in Washington and in Florida.
I don't know how you fix TikTok. I think any information, if you're worried that the Chinese are getting all kinds of information about us, I think they've already got it. Mm-hmm. TikTok's been around for a long time. If they've got their little algorithms, stealing information about everybody using TikTok, it's done.
Right. That's out of the bag.
Meanwhile, you want to take TikTok away from the young folks who love it, good luck with that because they'll find some workaround.
No, it's just interesting. What else is kind of that you're wanting to point us toward as we look toward elections? Of course, we got municipal elections here in the spring, but as we point also towards big gubernatorial races, big issues as we point toward the fall. You're always great at kind of that over-the-look horizon and special Brian Crowley radar. What's on it?
Yeah, I think one thing that I was talking to a neighbor the other day, and he started talking about how high his homeowner's insurance is going.
Affordability.
Not just his homeowner's insurance, but his auto insurance has gone up. You combine those two things. His salary's not going up as fast as his homeowner's, and he's not. This guy's doing fine, but he notes how much higher his homeowner's insurance and auto insurance has gone up. And while the legislature has kind of tried to deal with it, mostly on the edges, I think, there hasn't been a huge impact. This guy brought up an interesting idea that I sort of agree with. He thinks, we took citizens insurance and we shrunk it down. It was supposed to be, your last resort state run insurance. He said, and again, I sort of like this idea, we should take citizens insurance and make it a wind-only, hurricane-only insurance, sort of like flood insurance, only make it a statewide windstorm insurance, so tornadoes, hurricanes, whatever, and that's all it covers. And you make it like flood insurance where everybody has to have it, and then you're taking the burden off of the other insurance companies because they don't have to worry about windstorm anymore. That may be the way to go. To help reduce insurance for everybody. Another thing that, back after Hurricane Andrew, when you started having the big companies, Allstate, State Farm, rapidly leave the states and a hurricane insurance market, some people at the time said, if they want to do business here with auto insurance, they should be required to provide, hurricane insurance to anybody who wants it. Not a bad idea. Maybe the legislature needs to look at that. One of the interesting changes we made in the 90s when we reduced the Florida cabinet from 6 to 3. When we had 6, one of the cabinet members was an insurance commissioner. Well, when you have to run for office as insurance commissioner, you tend to be a little harder on the insurance companies. Not so much anymore.
Excellent point. Excellent point.
I think that remains a big issue that the legislature is going to have to deal with.
Popping to my mind too, and we've talked about this a lot, but something you said a few minutes ago. At the end of the day, all politics is locals, an old phrase. But I'm thinking about our politics. We do tend to concentrate on Tallahassee. But it's interesting to me how few people want to run in municipal races. We have scores of races happening right now this spring across our region. There's no opposition. There is no race. And that's something that's worth keeping an eye on. I think Palm Beach County, it was 50 or more. You ever seen it? We've always had that, but it seems to be accelerating.
I think that there is a fear about running for public office. I think when you consider the kind of threats that people get,
some of the stuff we've been talking about, the ugliness.
A lot of it's online threats. I'm sorry, I'm trying to find my little note here that I had on this. Maxwell Frost got assaulted at the Sundance Film Festival. A young congressman in his 20s.
Central Florida.
That's the kind, he didn't get seriously injured. He's fine. But it's that kind of story that says to people, why should I run for office? Am I going to have some angry person run up and punch me in the face? He was attacked apparently by, let's just say, somebody on the other side of the political spectrum. So I think that's why a lot of people aren't running for local office and statewide office because of fear.
Punched by a man who said the lawmaker would be deported. I mean, here's a state lawmaker.
Some racial words with him as well. So it's, I think that's a lot of it these days. I think people are hesitant to run for local offices. They're hesitant to run for state offices or Congress because of fear.
We do have, for those who are running, the big state races, and this year's picking up steam already. I can't believe how quickly the months go by. But at any rate, if you look at the endorsements thus far, including the president's, and you look at his war chest, does seem it's Byron Donalds to lose as a Republican in a red state. What are your thoughts as this thing really starts to shape up for the governor's race? Let's take it from there to start.
Well, today it would be Byron Donalds the next governor.
Yep.
A lot can happen in 6 months. I think the odds of him becoming governor are very high, winning in the primary and winning the general election. I think there's especially on the Democratic side, I think they're kind of counting on the idea that as Donald Trump's numbers go down in popularity, that it might rub off on people like Byron Donalds, who's counting very much on Donald Trump's endorsement, which he got. He had an event recently at Mar-a-Lago, a big fundraiser there. He's raised $45 million. So everything seems to be going in his favor right now. But you never know what's going to happen. I think his opponents in the primary are not terribly impressive. David Jolly and Jerry Demings running on the Democratic side.
Two leaders right now, ostensibly on that side.
But compared to Byron Donalds, they've raised very little money. So we'll see. But right now, I think it's very much in his favor.
What else are you looking at in tally?
Well, it's interesting to look at what's happening with health insurance and things. Where there's some big issues with SNAP programs and health insurance. We don't know what Congress is going to do, if anything, about health care, but all of that's starting to have an impact on Florida, and you wind up with people who need the various health programs that we have in Florida that are, poorer. They're getting left behind, and that's going to have an impact.
And then we've talked with you sitting at home or watching or listening on our audio platforms. We've talked a lot, Brian. It would seem the marquee issue is going to be what happens with the property taxes, the big debate in Tallahassee about how we cut property taxes, either completely, partially, the fights, even intra-party fights going on about what that should look like, the fights among municipalities that are saying, hold on a minute, local services, please, what are we going to do? That seems to be the heavyweight fight in Tallahassee, am I right?
Yeah, I mean, it's
one of.
Well, it's probably the first, second, third, in the top three issues. I think, one of the interesting things as of the time we're taping this, Ron DeSantis, who has been a big proponent of property taxes, legislative leaders saying, oh, sure, he's a big proponent, but he hasn't offered up a plan. He wants to have a special session about property taxes. I think there's a lot of turmoil in the legislature about what to do. They're getting, as you noted, a lot of pushback from municipalities who are saying, whoa. My feeling is that they're not going to go quite as far as they initially talked. I mean, there was some talk about eliminating all property taxes, which was just silly talk. And I think the fact that they're facing the potential of some rather significant decreases in the state budget may also have an impact on their thinking. Because if you're going to try to give more state money to municipalities to replace property taxes, and all of a sudden you're running out of the state money, well, now what? So it's property taxes, it's just one of those fun phrases to throw around, because you ask the average person, would you like to have your property taxes reduced? Of course. Oh yeah, sure, take it all away. Yes, on the surface, I'm sure, but what does it do about your water and sewage?
Wow.
What does it do about your garbage collection? What does it do about the roads in your neighborhood? Forget the big roads, the roads in your neighborhood that need to be resurfaced from time to time. Where do they think that money comes from? Oh, property taxes. So we'll see what happens with it, but I think for now it's a lot of noise that ultimately will turn out to be fairly minor in the great scheme of things. If I'm wrong, look out.
Lighten it up a little bit for us. I think we can all use it these days. I know you've been avidly following some of the fun. You cracked me up at the start of the year about the decal debate going on in Florida and some of the other funny things. What's giving you a chuckle these days?
Well, the Gators always give me a chuckle.
It's off season.
I know,
Hope springs eternal and spring practice coming up. I'm gonna get you a Gator shirt for a podcast this fall.
Yeah.
We're about to have spring practice.
I promise that I'll watch the second half of the fourth quarter of the
so
coming season.
Brian's not a big football watcher, so he tells me so. Well, I watched the last 5-10 minutes of the fourth quarter.
Right.
And I said to him, because he was one of the great columnists for the Palm Beach Post, I said, but you didn't want me to read the last 3 or 4 sentences. You wanted me to read the whole thing, the whole column.
Yeah, but that was because it made sense.
And football to you does not.
Well, no, but I already, it doesn't matter what happened in the first 3.5.
Because it's only the score at the end of the 60. Okay.
Right. So, I mean.
Fair enough.
Especially if there's a huge lead. I mean, then you don't even have to watch the second half of the fourth quarter then, so.
Exactly.
You don't have to do that.
Funny stuff.
What's going on with you?
Just enjoying it. Like I said, I'm always bragging to you all. We've a grandson we're raising. I'm having fun. I'm doing teaching this year. It's been an interesting year for me. I retired from full-time at WPTV and after 44 years in broadcast multimedia journalism. So it's always interesting as you're finding different things to do. Loving the podcast. We can't say enough. We appreciate you all tuning in. We get a lot of guests from a lot of backgrounds. We get all points of view. Already this year, we had the leading Republican state lawmaker here, Toby Overdorf, and then we had the Senate Minority Leader, Democrat Lori Berman, talking very thoughtfully about the issues, Democrat and Republican. I have a lot of fun doing that. Having fun working and learning from young students at Lynn University. And then just, it's just nice to goof around some days. I'd like to get out. And, I got to get you out. This guy, big cyclist. I got to get you out with me on the bike.
I want to point out about Toby Oberdorf and Lori Berman. What we had with them was a conversation.
Yes.
We discussed issues.
How novel.
And had the two of them been on at the same time, it would have been a discussion.
Yeah.
Not ranting and raving, not carrying on. And that's part of what we're trying to bring to this is discuss the issues, understand the issues, and then make up your mind. Yeah. And I think that's really important.
Yeah, and you and I have talked about this our whole careers. You do good reporting, you do good analysis, you ask tough questions of all sides, and then I believe so fiercely in the fact you at home decide. You're not going to agree with everything you heard today, and that's fine. But let's all do it civilly. Let's all have civil discussions, except about the Gators. We'll talk about that off camera. No, but I really do. It's the lack of civil discourse. You talked in a segment. It just sounds so quaint now. Be a little nicer to each other. Talk. You don't have to agree with me, but we can do it in a civil way. Say, well, I have another point of view, and when it comes to football, you tell me I'm wrong anyway. But you're civil. But you're civil about it. But no, I think it's a great point, Brian, and I know we're making a big push to this year. As we're now in coming into our 7th, 8th month of Top of Mind Florida. You enjoying it? You seem like you are.
Yeah, it's been great.
Yeah.
We really enjoy it. We're getting great feedback, and I want to continue doing it.
I don't know how many of you can see, but behind Brian, we have some of the mementos of his Crowley political report, our old To The Point broadcast, our bike helmets, and our bike clock. It's been a lot of fun. This has been our home away from home, Top of Mind Florida, and we're really enjoying it. What final top of mind thoughts, Brian? We'll keep an eye, of course, on all the major issues. We'll continue to have guests, as we have, speak about the big issues of the state. Final thoughts from you, my dear friend.
You need to be prepared for the biggest event of the year.
Oh, boy.
I believe the date, and I'll be corrected if I'm wrong, and so will you, is March 6th.
March 6th. Is there something that our better halves told us we need to be at?
Outlander.
Oh,
Outlander, the final season of Outlander.
I've seen exactly 0 episodes. Let's say our spouses, wonderful ladies, Cheryl and Lisa, love that show.
Yeah, and love's not even strong enough a word.
Yeah. Good stuff. So, anything else, buddy?
That's all I got.
That's all I got. But your reminder, which you're always great about, subscribing to the podcast.
Subscribe
to our podcast.
Thank you for subscribing, and if you're not a subscriber, please do. And thank you for watching or listening to Top of Mind Florida.